So here at Truly Tropical, we have been enjoying mango flowers for about 2 months. Mango flowers, at least to me, are really pretty, and part of their beauty is because they have the promise of fruit. You never know how much fruit you'll get from all the flowers that a mango tree produces, but of course everybody is interested in the end product. The fruit is where it's at. So what we did on January 2nd was we went around the grove and found 10 mango trees that were just spectacular. They had an amazing amount of flowers. And then on February 9th, we went around the grove again, found those same 10 trees to see what happened. How much fruit did each of those trees set? And so there's a lot of differences in the amount of fruit that a tree can set. Some of those differences depend on the variety, and some of the differences depend on weather. Because if the timing of the bloom coincides with good conditions for powdery mildew, sometimes you can get 0 fruit from that tree. So from January 2nd to February 9th, it's just 5 weeks, but there is a big difference in how those trees look. So it's January, and what we are seeing here at Truly Tropical are a lot of gorgeous mango flowers. Almost every variety that we have in the grove is blooming, but there are some that are extra spectacular. And behind me is one of those. This is ice cream mango, and it's just covered with flowers. Just gorgeous. So this is ice cream mango, and ice cream mango seems to always produce a lot of flowers. It's just beautiful, but unfortunately a lot of years it doesn't produce that much fruit. There have been some years that we've only gotten a handful of fruit from this tree that's been in the ground for 20 years. So a strange thing happened this year, of course covered with flowers. But then this side of the tree did not produce very much fruit at all. And then just a few feet over, this side did. It's not a crazy amount of fruit, but significantly more. And what I believe happened was that the flowers on this side of the tree came out earlier. They were a little bit older, and powdery mildew hit this side of the tree. These flowers were younger. They didn't get hit with the powdery mildew as much. So most of the fruit that we will get from this tree will be from this area. This is our original Julie mango. It's actually the oldest tree that I planted in the grove. It was 3 years old when I planted it back in 1999. Not only is it rather short, but it is loaded with bloom. So here's that Julie tree that was covered with flowers. Now it seems to be covered with empty panicles, but there is a lot of fruit. Not compared to the number of flowers that it set, but a lot of fruit for this size tree. Right in this area, just lots and lots of empty panicles. An interesting thing with this variety and many other varieties is whenever you see a green or sort of greenish-white panicle or stem, that indicates it's not supporting any fruit. So it's just the red tinged ones that are supporting fruit. And you can see there's quite a few red ones here, and the ones that are whitish green are going to just eventually drop off. Here's Julie. This is grafted onto Hayden. This whole branch is just loaded with flowers. So right here is Julie, and there are a lot of empty panicles, but there's a lot of fruit up there also. So this is Seacrest. Seacrest is a variety that is now sometimes known as triple sec, but here it is Seacrest. And this tree is just gorgeous. There are tons and tons of branch tips, and that's because I've been trimming it back as it has growth spurts, try and encourage branching. And one of the big benefits of that is we have tons of flowers on it. Right here is a cluster of very well-established bloom, just very fluffy, gorgeous. And then right next to it, right here, is bloom that is just emerging. So, of course, we're hoping for a great year for fruit. You never know until it comes. But one thing that should happen is if we have fruit, it should be a fairly long season, because of the different stages that the bloom is at in different parts of the tree. So this is Seacrest. Yeah, this tree was just gorgeous with all the flowers that it had, and right now it's gorgeous with the fruit that it has set. There's fruit of just about every size, some that is over an inch big, and then there's some that's pea-sized, and then everything in between. In fact, there's even some emerging bloom on certain areas of this tree. So we can't count our mangoes before they're ready to pick, but it looks like it might be a good year for Seacrest, and hopefully it will be a long season for it also. So this is one of our turpentine trees. Last year we got very few fruit from this tree. This year it looks like hopefully it'll be a good year because it is loaded with bloom. So this turpentine tree had a lot of flowers, and now it has a lot of young fruit. So far it's looking like a good year for turpentine. So here's Ryan, and there are a ton of flowers on Ryan, but it's not as impressive because Ryan is a big tree. So even though every branch tip has flowers on it, they're spread apart more. So this is Ryan. It had a crazy amount of flowers. And right now I see an unbelievable number of empty panicles. In fact, I only see 2 fruit that have formed, and those are on the very top of the tree. And Ryan is a really popular variety, and it looks pretty disappointing now. But in the past, we have had like more than one flowering from this tree. So I'm hoping that this tree will flower again and we'll have more than 2 Ryan fruit in 2020. So this is one of our lemon meringue trees. Over the past 2 years, we have made it a much shorter tree, and the good news is, even with that drastic cutting, we have a lot of bloom, and it looks like if we do have fruit, it'll be easy to pick. So here's the lemon meringue. We had a crazy amount of flowers, and there is just a ton of fruit up here. Of course, this tree is not going to be able to support all that fruit, but it's looking really good for lemon meringue. Here's another impressive bloomer. This is Phoenix. It's a young tree and it's covered with wonderful flowers. So our little Phoenix tree had a lot of flowers, but unfortunately not a lot of fruit. Best case scenario seems to be like possibly 6 fruit from this tree this season. So here's one of our nandaka trees. It has a ton of bloom, and you might notice there are some areas that have new leaves. What's really interesting to me about those areas that have the new leaves is that they also have bloom. You'll notice these new shoots, and the leaves are sort of brownish. If you are able to look right below where that new growth is, right on the top of the mature green leaves, there are actually flowers coming out of that same area. So this is nandaka, and that crazy amount of flowers has turned into a crazy amount of fruit. Just tons of fruit everywhere. Of course, this tree is not going to be able to support all this fruit, but it's very impressive at this stage. So this tree is Pineapple Pleasure. It's gorgeous, lots and lots of flowers. Now, of course, we're hoping for lots and lots of fruit, but last year it had really impressive flowers also, and we had very few fruit. And the reason was powdery mildew hit the bloom, and just very few fruit developed. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case this year, but you never know. So Pineapple Pleasure is really an impressive bloomer. We get a lot of flowers most years from this tree. The problem is the flowers don't usually translate into fruit. There have been years when we've had 0 fruit from this tree, and I think last year we had maybe 4 fruit. The fruit is really, really good, but unfortunately, you can't feed a village with a tree. Right now, we have a lot of fruit set on this tree, but there's a little problem, even though it looks good from a distance. Of course, some of the panicles are just empty. That happens with every variety. But this is the thing that is concerning. Here's a couple panicles, and the fruit from a distance might look okay, but then you look more closely and it's not okay. There are blemishes on this fruit. It basically would not develop if it stayed on the tree. So unfortunately, it's impossible to take off all of the affected fruit because I don't have time to climb a ladder and go through all of those panicles. But we're hoping for a pretty good crop this year from this tree. But it all depends on if there's perfect fruit on the tree that can survive until the fruit is ready. This is one of our Jakarta trees. It is just gorgeous. Just tons of nice flowers on it right now. So here's Jakarta. It had flowers all over the place, and I'm seeing a lot of fruit. I hope that means that a lot of fruit will mature on this tree. In the past, Jakarta has had multiple crops, and I'm not sure if this is going to happen this season because there are so many fruit with this first flowering, and basically the entire tree was covered with flowers already. So we'll have to wait and see if there's another crop, but it seems like we're going to have a pretty good first crop of Jakarta. This is one of our Dwarf Hawaiian trees. Dwarf Hawaiian is always very impressive with the amount of flowers that it has. So this is one of our Dwarf Hawaiian trees, and all those flowers have translated into quite a bit of fruit. There's just a lot of healthy looking fruit that is on the tree right now, and so we're hoping that we get to pick a lot of great fruit from this tree.